Well, good morning and welcome to my website planning webinar. And today what I'm going to cover for you is I'm going to go over website basics, how to create a high converting website, and I'll go over the specifics and exactly what that means later in the presentation, and then really creating a website that fits your business. And this webinar is really just the planning phase of creating your website.
Okay.
So just a little bit more about me before I get going with the main topics is I am an online marketing strategist, and I say strategist more than like web developer or designer because my area of expertise is really the strategy and planning parts of any online marketing project. I went to UCF and graduated from there, and when I graduated, I started working for a web design firm, and there, as part of my internship, my job was to create search engine optimization and marketing plans, which was a complete first for me, but I saw that that was really where I find the most rewarding part of creating marketing projects is you're taking a business that doesn't have very much online marketing exposure, adding some tools that are pretty much free, but showing the business owner or the organization how to use those tools better to get ahead of their competition and really have more visibility online. So that's really the area that I like the best. I own Riza Marketing, and I've been doing this type of work, planning websites and strategies, since 2010.
Awesome.
So, and I'm gonna do a whole series of webinars, but I really wanted to start with this one, or have this one now, because I've seen it myself so many times, especially in the small business world, that people will get into creating a website, invest in it, invest their time, invest their money, invest, time writing content, but haven't stepped back to really plan it out. And a website is just like any other business tool, or it's another part of your business, or it should be anyway. And you need to plan everything that you want to go into your website. And if that means waiting a little bit to create it, so to give you some time to really figure out what you want, that is worth the wait and the time it takes to figure out what you want. Otherwise, what you end up with is a website that doesn't really feel right. It doesn't really represent what you wanted because you rushed into it, and just mostly because everyone says you need to have a website, which essentially every business should, but you still need to step back and plan for what you want on it, what it, maybe even phase it out. So I'll get into that a little more. So these are some questions you should ask yourself when you're in this planning phase of your next website. And what do you expect to gain in having a new website? Either a new website or a redesign of your current website. What are you expecting from that? And then how much should you invest? What kind of website do you want? Is this going to be like an e-commerce site where people can shop? Or is it going to be a place where you want people to contact you? Like you try to visualize the end product here and see what kind of website you really need for your business. And then what type of content should you have? So when you're deciding content, you really need to think about the audience that you want coming to the site and the questions you want to answer for them that are giving them enough information to keep them interested and show them your expertise. But then you want them to take the next step and either call you or make an appointment with you or buy from you or whatever that conversion is that you want them to do. So when you're thinking of content, that's what you need to consider. And again, I'm going to get into more details on each one of these a little bit more in the webinar. And then finally, what everyone asks themselves, should I do it myself or should I hire someone to do it? Or, or by doing it yourself, maybe you mean, you know, getting someone that you know could figure this out better than you can at a very low price. And either one of those is really just fine as long as you've planned for it. As long as you know what you want on your website, then you can really relate to somebody else, whoever that is, either a freelancer or even for yourself. You have your outline of what, if this is something within your skill set, this is something you want to hire out. If this is, you know, and whoever you do hire out, you want to make sure that they understand what it is that you want to end up with. So here are some website basics as far as like getting started. And I'm sure you've already heard these terms, but I just want to break it down a little further. So website hosting is just like the monthly rent space that your website is going to take on the internet. It's going to be a very small amount of space, or it's going to be a lot depending on the size, the capabilities, the amount of traffic that you expect on your website. So when you're paying for a hosting plan, it should just match up with the size and the capabilities that your website has. And the reason I want to break that down is because a lot of times hosting companies, some are a little more aggressive than others, will try to talk you into getting an upgrade on your hosting service for whatever reason. Either they'll tell you it'll work faster, or that's what you need. Feel free to question that if you think, okay, I only have a 10-page website and there's not that much you can do on it. Why would I need to increase my hosting? If it's running slow, it could be for other reasons and not hosting. It could just be that the framework needs to be updated. And then, so speaking of framework, that is what actually creates your website. So when you're talking website, the next one, this is what is contained within what you build. So I like to use the analogy of, it's just like building a home. It takes framework, it takes architecture. The navigation is the architecture part. And then over time, it can be outdated, just like a home can. The electrical can be outdated, the plumbing, you know, all of the inside of the home can over time be outdated. So very similarly with the website. So if your website has something that's outdated, that could be the reason that it might be running slowly, and not that you actually need additional hosting. You might end up upgrading and it doesn't do much for the speed of your site. So just again, to break it down, the website is within your website. So that's like the framework, the platform that it's on, when was the last time it was updated, and then everything contained on it, which would be the content and the pictures, files, video, you know, whatever products that you have pictures of. So all of that is the part of the website. And then the last thing you want to also consider is a domain name, or the URL. Every website will have a unique address that leads people to your website. And when you're deciding on that one, it really should, and this is just my recommendation, there are other marketers that feel differently, but I personally, because I deal with the customer, connecting the customer side to the business side so much, I think your domain name should closely match your business as much as possible. There are some SEO tips out there to get a domain name that goes after a keyword, like Orlando accountant, or to try to get ranked for that keyword. So anytime someone types in Orlando accountant, your website would be one of the searches that came up. The problem with that is if somebody knows that your business is not Orlando accountant and it's actually, you know, J&J accounting services, and the URL now says Orlando accountant, when they know the name of your company is different, it starts to look like a mistake, or it could just throw up a red flag, like, am I even at the right place? So you don't want to confuse your customers. So having a similar URL is important. You can always do rerouting things, but again, the end result is you're trying to connect with people, not the robots. So, and again, just like in business, you want to figure out what is your why. You know, why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you spend all this extra time and effort towards something? You have to have a reason, something that drives you. So similarly with your website, you want to have your reason. Why do you want this new website? Why is this important for you? And if it's, you know, if your top reason is because, you know, that's what I keep hearing, or everyone says I need one, it's not really your why. So because when you end up with the website, especially again with small business, it really should represent what is different about you, what is unique about you, why should people do business with you. So you have to have some meaning behind it so that you don't come across too generic, because a generic website is just going to get passed along. You want to give it some real personality and have it really represent your business. So 2 other questions to ask yourself. Do you have a clear purpose for your new website? And a few purposes that you may have when, say, first you're considering a brand new website. This is, you know, you haven't had a website before, but you want to have one now. Some of the reasons you may have is you need a place for people to find more information about you. You need to establish an online presence. You need a way to capture potential online leads for customers to reach you online. Or you need to create some content that attracts traffic to your website and builds awareness. Those are all good reasons, but is it your purpose? Is it your why? You still need to kind of connect those dots. Those are true and those can happen, but you need to connect the dots to the purpose of your website in order to have that clear flow that when people come there, they know, okay, this is exactly what I need to do. I need to read this, you know, find this piece of information here under this tab and read through it in order to convert them into a customer. And then for redesign, you may want to redesign your current website because it's outdated, or you don't think it's structured properly, or the design doesn't fit with your current business model or your brand. You're going a different direction. Or maybe the text just needs a complete overhaul because the text is now outdated, or it just doesn't function properly. And again, those are really good reasons to get a redesigned website, but what does that end result look like to you? So if this one isn't structured properly, what does a properly structured website look like to you? If this one is outdated, what does an updated website look like to you? So keep that path going. And then we get to, should you hire an expert or should you do it yourself? And again, both of those with it, if you're talking about your budget, or you would rather have more control over this project yourself, doing it yourself is a viable option. These are just some website rules you want to consider. When you hire an expert knows that there is someone that's directing the project, directing all the tasks that need to happen in the order that they need to happen. And then there's a creative director that's taking all of the tasks and the vision for the website, and is the creator to marry the business and the design that is most appealing to the customer. So there's another role. And then finally, there's the content creator. Every website is informational, so there's got to be some form of content on the website, and who's going to lead that. And if it's your first website, there's a good chance that you are all three roles. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to give yourself those blocks of time to think like a web director, and then another block of time to think like a creative director, and then another block of time to think like the content creator, so that you don't mesh all of this together, and then it becomes this very frustrating project for yourself because you're going in too many different directions. Just know that these are the three main roles of creating a project or a website project. And there's going to be different tasks that go into each of these buckets, and give yourself the allotted time to plan for each of those if you decide to do it yourself. And if you don't, if you decide to hire an expert, ask these questions. Who's your web director? Who's the creative director? How is the content going to be created? So make sure that you know those details. So another part of your website planning is you want to make sure that there is an initial budget. How will you appeal to your potential visitors, and what do you want people to do? Those are the calls to actions, CTAs. So with your initial budget, really plan what can you afford to spend on this website, and in a little bit I'll tell you how you can make your wish list and see how does your budget compare to your wish list. Do you have a question?
No, it's just gathering the information. How do you appeal to? But it's fine. We can continue because then you go over some key factors.
Okay. Yes, I am actually going to go over that. How do you appeal to your potential visitors? So I believe that's next. So planning the foundation of your website is really just these two questions. What's the vision for your website? And what will the future of your website look like? So what is your vision for, because one thing you need to know about websites is they should never be like one and done. You do it and you forget about it. They need to be continuously updated. So with that in mind, what can you start with? And then maybe give it a little bit of time. Maybe you want to learn more about your customers or learn more about your business and the direction that you want to go to and who you really want to appeal to before you get into the next phase of updating your website. So it's okay to not have all of the details for the vision of your new website right on the front end, because you're going to be updating this. I mean, a good website should be updated. The search engines also like it when you update your website because it shows that you are actively using this as a customer service tool. So when they see that there is continuous updates, when the search engines see, okay, the bots keep coming back to your site to see if anything changes, and they see that there are changes, then they see, oh, okay, this is a good option for these keywords that we're finding on the website. So when someone searches, this should be ranked higher and will come up further up. So what's the vision for your website? And then what will the future of your website look like? What do those phases look like to you? And they could just be in minimal ideas. You don't have to have all the details. So here are some assessment questions that I give to my clients when they're getting these ideas down. First, you want to make sure, of course, you know the name of your business, but you want to write this down, because everything that you write under it will tie back to your business. And you want to kind of create that visual of, Silvertop Solutions at the top, and then everything under it is all about Silvertop Solutions. Because say like you have multiple businesses, you don't want to confuse people with a secondary business that you may have. Keep the one business very clear in all of these assessment questions, also very clear about that one business that you're trying to highlight. If you have a secondary business, you do the same exercise, but it's going to be on different content on a different page, because the same customer that is looking for one type of business is not the one that's looking for the other, or chances are it isn't. So you don't want to make people sift through your content to try to figure out what pertains to them. So these are the assessment questions that you want to write down. And I'm going to send out all these slides after the webinar so you have it too. What's your business about? You know, when you describe to people what it is that you do, what does that look like? And also, when you're asking that question, also think about when other people are describing my business and what I do, what do I want them to say about my business? What's the main thing you want people to do when they visit your website? So that would be like, do you want them to be able to schedule an appointment with you? Do you want them to be able to pay you? Do you want them to see your calendar of events? Or a gallery, maybe you have a gallery of images that you want them to see. Do you want to have your pricing clearly there so they know that, hey, if you can't afford at least this minimum package, then you probably shouldn't call us. It'll save everybody some time. So, you know, again, these are all the main questions you want to ask yourself. What is it you want to achieve with your website? I've kind of said that previously. And then relate your website. This is actually really important. You want to relate your website to everyday operations. When you get a lead, say, for example, you have a contact form on your website and the lead comes in, what's going to happen next? What's that funnel going to look like? Do you just call them back? Do they go into some kind of CRM, like a database? Do you want to add them to your mailing list? Like, what does that operation look like when someone does contact you and they through the website? And what are those different steps going to be? Okay, so then now we start to talk about figuring out who is your target audience. Now, we know we cannot serve everybody. You can't make everybody happy, and serving everybody doesn't make you happy either. So who is your target market? Where is your target market? And then who's your target audience? So the way we break this down is the market, say, is just a segment of the population. So say it is women over 30 that own a business. And so here, if the target audience is women over over 30 that own a business, now you want to get even more specific. So I've worked with a lot of coaches, business coaches, life coaches, and just different types of coaches creating their sites. And one of the things we do here to drill down to their target audience is, what are those specific interests for their purposes? So for like a business coach, it's a women over 30 that own a business that are feeling overwhelmed between their work life and their personal life. So that's now getting more specific. Maybe they are into yoga. So you start to get to know who your customer is. So to get even further, to be able to write content that is directly aimed at relating to that that customer, because remember, on a website, you're not getting any face-to-face interaction, so you have to rely on your content to do the relationship building for you. So who are your current customers, and then out of those current customers, which ones are the ones that are making you happiest when you're working with them? How old are they? Where are they from? How much they earn? So, are they single or married? What are their jobs and hobbies? And those questions are really just generic questions to try to get you to start to put this target audience into a very specific like bucket or form that you can start to relate to. Maybe these aren't the questions you need to be asking yourself to figure out the audience. It could be a little different. I'll go into the next exercise to show you an example. So for one of my life coaches, just like the previous example I was talking about, this is one of her ideal customers. Now, this is Lucy. We just pulled a picture from Google to put here just to give her a face. She's not a real person, but with putting all of these characteristics together, now my client can start to see, okay, this is the type of content that I need to be writing about for my blogs or advertising or whatever she needs. And then on my side, as the one helping her with the website, I can start to see, okay, these are the type of images that we want to look for. This is the feeling, the design, that we want to have, the tone of the website, so that it all really comes together. And again, this is just an example that I took from one of my clients. But you could start to see where just with a little bit of detail about this one customer type that you like to work with, it really starts to come together. And it helps if you have a team of people working with you, even if you have someone helping you with social media or your email marketing, if you give them this type of document, everybody's thinking along the same lines. Was that the question that you were asking earlier?
This is more of spelling out, right? I was looking for explanation on how to put, the one you had put earlier, how will you appeal to potential visitations? Yeah, that's kind of along the lines that I was looking for.
Yes.
Solutions. I can relate to Lucy, as a matter of fact.
Yes, and that's how it works. Is like, we just take some details from either people that you have already worked with before, and those people, their characteristics, what they're like, and what struggles they came to you with at the very beginning, and then what you did to solve their problems, or at least to alleviate their problems and give them some hope and a better experience. So, but a lot of times we don't think about those things because we're just doing them. You just go through and you're very good at what you do, but you just do it. And then when you're trying to think of content to write down for either your blogs or even creating videos or whatever content you're going to create, you forget, oh, this is actually what I do. This is how I relate. This is why I know how to serve my customer well. So,
right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. So this is just a planning checklist. We talked earlier about what you expect from your website. And then so here, if you make these 3 columns, you can write your website goals, which is, what you expect your website to be able to do for you. Your wish list, what you really want your website to have, and what the priorities will be for those websites. For your website, I mean, everyone should have an easy to maintain website that they have access to, so you're not having to wait on anyone to update your content, or it's easy enough to where you can give it to someone else to update that's helping you, that it can get done quickly. You just never want to get locked out of your own website and not be able to update it. That's very important. Then, these are just other examples of what you may want on your wish list. You definitely want to have a mobile-friendly website, because over half of the searches now, it's more like 65% of searches are made through mobile devices these days. So you want to make sure that your new website is mobile-friendly. And then any other solutions that you want to add to your site. So, and then when you're talking about your budget, you want to have an initial investment and then a timeline for your longer term investment. So how much are you willing to spend just to get this going? And then for that next phase, maybe you want to say, okay, if I get this many email list signups, then that means it's worth investing this much. So you want to kind of make a plan for that long-term investment. Or maybe you know that in 6 months it should have a checkout process. The initial website will be just to get started, get the online presence going, and in 6 months we're going to add a shopping cart. So, and then whatever it takes financially to add that shopping cart. And then for your ongoing maintenance costs, we mentioned hosting, which would be a monthly cost. If you tie to an email marketing program, that's going to be another monthly cost. So really get down what those maintenance costs are going to be. So you have a good idea of what it takes to have a website and can really plan for it, because the better you plan for it, then the more you're thinking about it, and it's not something that's ignored, it's something that's actually working for you and helping your business get ahead.
Okay.
So that pretty much covers my website. Now you're ready to get going and start planning your own. And I do offer coaching sessions if all you want is help planning your website or just a review of what the ideas that you have so far. We do also build websites, but I didn't do the webinar to try to push that. Just really get out there that planning what your website needs is very critical to you as a business owner, and don't rush through it. Really sit down and think it through. So, any questions? Sorry if I went too fast.
Yes. Very complex. Definitely, I think I'm gonna get with you to see if we can do some type of review on it. I mean, it's something that I've, like you said, it just kind of in the back end of myself, but I realize now, the importance that it is. So I think I want to probably start, getting a little bit more at par with it. So, yeah, because it's, I guess, just developing that whole thought process on how it's going to entail requires, a lot of things that, that you probably need someone professional at it.
So when you think,
sure.
When you think of creating your website, a new website, because I see this a lot with business owners, is it something that's put off and then put off and put off because you're not sure really what you want. And
exactly.
So is that the case with you?
Yes, I think it's more of I've attempted it on several occasions, and I do have one, but it's like it was just kind of put together because we need to have, presence, but it hasn't gone through the whole thought process on what it should do, what I want it to do for me, how I want it to work for me properly, so that way I don't either, get overwhelmed or, it's just a lot of things. But now as you tell me, it's the fact that it's, is it going to go to CRM? Is it going, what's going to be the next step? To me, those are important, especially as a, as a single owner, per se, small business owner. It's because, a lot of things I'm very hands-on and a lot of stuff to put another thing under my plate. How am I going to develop it? How am I going to work through it so that way it doesn't overwhelm me?
Right.
It's like, that's why so all those little things. It's a lot of questions, so definitely for sure gotta look into it a little bit better.
Yes, it is a lot of questions, and it takes a lot of thinking through. But it, like I said before, it's worth it. Otherwise, you're gonna feel like you're overwhelmed. You're wasting time on this. It's not gonna be exactly what you want because you're not really sure exactly what you want. And you want to try to avoid all of that. And it can be avoided with just, some planning. And of course, you can always get some help planning your website, because there are so many options out there that alone can be overwhelming. But when you come back to, okay, what is it that I really need versus what is it that I really want, and then start making your plan for, to cover all of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Edith. We'll definitely be, talking